Packers minus 3.5 versus the Seahawks, 6:40 Eastern on Sunday night. Rodgers versus Wilson. This is the second time they've ever played in the playoffs. The other time was in the NFC Championship game when it was to go to Super Bowl 49 to play the Patriots. The Packers should have won that game, but Bostic tried to be the hero. Never be the hero. Never go full Tropic Thunder. Rodgers versus Wilson. Epic matchup. Two of the best quarterbacks in the game right now. Two of the most electrifying, exciting quarterbacks in the game. I'm really excited to watch this as a fan. The Packers have won 8 straight games at home versus the Seahawks. 8 straight. That includes, I think, 3 versus Russell Wilson. Both have top 10 red zone offenses. But something that's interesting about this is that both defenses are actually better on third down than the offenses are. Did you hear that? Both defenses are better on third down than the offenses are. I think that's fascinating because the Packers, they have an okay defense. The Seahawks, they don't have a very good defense. So I think that's kind of interesting that teams with Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers are not as good offensively on third down as their defenses are. I think it speaks to the lack of sophisticated drop back passing game that each team has, right? I don't think either team is really like opening up all their receivers to get wide open. You never just see like a wide open Packer receiver. You never really see a wide open Seahawks receiver, or you never really see like an awesome scheme play from either team in the passing game. Packers, LaFleur, really good in that Sean McVay scheme with his running game and his play action and the shots downfield. But when it comes, again, 3 of these teams I've talked about already, same thing. In that drop back passing game, a lot of it is Aaron Rodgers making magic. And then for the Seahawks, a lot of it is Russell Wilson making magic. I think that's what makes these games so interesting, or this game so interesting, is that it might just come down to, like I said with the Eagles-Seahawks game last week, what quarterback is more magnificent? What quarterback's more magical? It might just come down to that. Is Russell Wilson going to be able to outduel Aaron Rodgers in his home place? That's interesting. Packers offense versus Seattle's defense. One player that I think is a big component to Seattle's defense has been the guy that they acquired, Quandre Diggs, from the Detroit Lions. His recognition of the Packers will, I think, be insightful, right? He was from the Lions. He played Aaron Rodgers a lot. Matt Patricia had success versus Aaron Rodgers as late as Week 17 and has had good game plans. Maybe Quandre Diggs gives a thing or two to Seattle's defense and their coaching staff and Pete Carroll to say, hey, you know what? We did this when we were in Detroit. This seemed to give them issues. Maybe they'll try to replicate that a little bit if Diggs gives some insight there. But I think that's interesting. He's also just a really good player and one of the best playmakers in the back end of their defense. I think Griffin will be on Adams for a majority of the game, although I don't think Griffin switches sides. I think he stays on one side of the field. So that is going to be tough. If Seattle allows Adams to be moved around freely and they don't follow Griffin and match him wherever he goes, then I think if he's versus Flowers, like Adams versus Flowers, I think he could take advantage of that. Griffin is decent, though. Like, I think he could win some reps versus Adams, but Adams should have mostly a field day versus any corner that Seattle has and versus the zone coverage. He's a really good player. He's a really good route runner. He's really good in terms of his chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. So I think Adams probably has like 8 to 12 catches. I wouldn't be surprised if he had 15. I mean, Rodgers is going to go to him a lot in this game. They don't really have much else besides Adams. So that's why I feel like defenses that mostly stop the Packers the best are teams that actually have that corner, that number one corner, who can actually stay with Adams. Now, Griffin is good, but I don't know if he's like truly elite where he could just shut down Adams. I don't think that's going to happen. Jimmy Graham, revenge game. Just throwing it out there for fun. Maybe he gets a touchdown. I don't know. Throwing it out there. Jadeveon Clowney versus Bakhtiari and Bulaga. That is going to be a great matchup. I think if this is the biggest matchup potentially in the entire game. If Aaron Rodgers has time, I think the Packers are going to win. If Aaron Rodgers is under duress, if Jadeveon Clowney is getting after him, if Jarron Reed and Ezekiel Ansah and these guys are forcing pressure, getting after Rodgers, forcing him off his first read, whatever it may be, I think that the Seahawks will win. But if the Packers can protect for Aaron Rodgers is going to throw for 300 plus yards. Now, I will take into account statistics here. Seattle is ranked 30th in adjusted sack rate. The Rodgers should have time then, right? If you're looking at stats. Seattle 30th in adjusted sack rate, that's third to last at getting after quarterbacks. 30th in pressure on quarterbacks. That's not good. Now, Clowney can at times be amazing and take over a game, but Bakhtiari's one of the best left tackles. Bulaga's one of the best right tackles. You need to be able to get interior pressure versus the Packers because their tackles are the strength of their offensive line. If Aaron Jones can get going, I think that's where the Packers offense is going to be unstoppable. That's where they have been really, really good. When Aaron Jones is able to run the ball, that sets up LaFleur's entire playbook to make things happen. Seattle ranks 26th in defending the run and 21st in adjusted line yards. So they're not great versus the run game. They're not awful, but they're not good either. Seattle is also 28th in rushing yards per attempt allowed. So that's 5th worst in the league. 32nd, 31st, 30th, 29th, 28th. Not 4th worst, 5th worst. Seattle is 19th in red zone defense. As I brought up, top 10 red zone offenses on both sides. Pretty equal there. I think that the Packers will score 24 to 34 points in this game. Packers defense versus Seattle's offense. The Seahawks are coming to Lambeau Field, and I don't know if you guys know this, but Russell Wilson's passer rating versus the Packers is the lowest versus any opponent in the NFL. 81.9. I don't know if that has to do with the schemers or the players. I don't know what that has to do with, maybe bad weather games. If this game also has a little bit of weather conditions, I know this sounds weird, but Russell Wilson isn't the greatest in bad weather that we've ever seen. He can have bad games in those type of weather. So I don't think it's going to be like a snowy game or anything like that, but just take a look for the forecast as we get towards Sunday. Some of the matchups on the outside, I think Alexander will be on Lockett. That will be a very good matchup. I think that's fairly even. Metcalf is going to be the guy again. I think it's Metcalf and King. Now, they might decide to put Alexander on Metcalf, or they might just play their sides. I'm not sure for Green Bay, but I think Metcalf should have another big game in this one. He had a massive game versus Philadelphia. He should be able to have another big game here. Green Bay is 10th, though, DVOA versus the pass. They're actually a top 10 team versus the pass. Green Bay is 12th in adjusted sack rate at getting after quarterbacks. So they're a lot better in pressuring quarterbacks than Seattle is. Seattle's 30th. Green Bay is 12th. Can the Seahawks run the ball? I think that's another huge question. The two questions that I think if Seattle wins, they get pressure after Aaron Rodgers and they run the football effectively. Because Green Bay is really bad versus the run. They are 31st in adjusted line yards and they rank 23rd in run defensive DVOA. If you're able to run and supplement Russell Wilson with that rushing attack from Homer and Lynch, then it's going to slow down the Smith Bros and Clark in the pass rush, which is where potentially Seattle could get in a lot of trouble. Because if you're letting these guys tee off on Russell Wilson, the Smith Bros, they have 12 plus sacks each. Clark's one of the best interior rushers, and we saw how Fletcher Cox dominated Hunt last week. Clark could do the same thing versus Hunt. I think that's a mismatch in the pass rush. I think Green Bay will be able to destroy that offensive line a lot of the time. So, at the end of the day, I just hope Aaron Rodgers is able to finish the game and Russell Wilson. We didn't get to see Carson Wentz versus Russell Wilson last week, so we were kind of robbed of that. I hope we're able to see Rodgers and Wilson this week for the entire game, and Clowney doesn't take him out. I'm going Green Bay to win 30-24. The Seahawks have proven me wrong before this season because really they're a team that doesn't make a lot of sense. Really, they're not as talented as their record suggests. They're not a team that I really see as a true divisional round type of team. But somehow they've made it. I think this is the best matchup they could have had in this round. I think if they would have played San Francisco, they would have lost. I think if they would have, if they would have played any other team, I think probably not great for them. But Green Bay is a team that I think they have the best chance of beating because I think it's mostly an Aaron Rodgers versus Russell Wilson. But the advantage I give to the Packers is I think that they will be able to get Wilson, get the quarterback, sack the quarterback, pressure the quarterback more than the Seahawks are able to pressure Rodgers. And I think that's the difference in this game. Plus Lambeau Field, at home. Rodgers is good in Lambeau Field, a lot better than on the road. I'm going Green Bay to win, and I'm going Green Bay to cover 30-24. I don't love this game in terms of betting, though. I'm not betting on this game because I think there's too many outcomes for this game. I do think it's going to be a close game, though. Pretty much no matter what. I don't know if any team's going to blow anyone out. And we know Seattle's not going to blow anyone out because they never have. But the Packers, they're not good enough either. I just don't see that happening. So I think this is within a touchdown on Sunday. And maybe I should actually take the 3.5 now, considering it. Yeah, maybe I should. I don't know. But my score dictates that I should take Green Bay. I don't know. I just don't know about that one. So I wouldn't suggest betting on that game.